Hi, this is Randy from Friday's Golf, and welcome to Hard Boiled, the segment where I sit on an ugly couch and give you my first impression on new golf equipment in the market. Now today I have two devices that I want to share with you, and since I've been a long time user of Bushnell products, I've been particularly excited about testing these units out, and they are of course the Pro X2 and the Bushnell Hybrid Rangefinders. Now, of course, we're going to go through the features and benefits of each unit, but before we do so, I kind of want to give you a brief description of what's inside the box when you purchase one of these. We're going to start with the Pro X2. When you open up the box, you're going to see pretty much what you see in every rangefinder that you purchase. You're going to have manuals, gross. Now, the battery is not in the box. It's actually already installed in the unit, and then they just put a plastic tab in there that you have to unscrew the cap, pull that tab out, put the cap back on, and then it's ready to go. The Bushnell Hybrid box is pretty much the same song and dance. Now there is a quick startup guide to kind of give you a little bit of upfront what you need to do to get the GPS to work. It also comes with a USB cable that plugs into the unit and then into the back of a computer or into a wall adapter that you would charge your cell phone on. Alright, so that wraps up what's in the box. Now let's talk about the features and benefits of each unit. We're going to start out with the Pro X2. One of the key features with the Pro X2 is what they call slope switch. It's this little toggle on the side here of the unit that you slide up, and when you do so, you convert this from a standard rangefinder into one that calculates slope. It has a full metal casing, so this unit not only feels a little heavier than the hybrid version, but it also feels very sturdy. It feels like if you were to drop it on the floor, you wouldn't have to worry about breaking it. The Pro X2 is also fully waterproof, meaning you could take it out into a rainstorm and you don't have to worry about the elements creeping in there and frying your circuits. It comes with pin seeker with Jolt technology. Now this isn't new to Bushnell. Pin seeker is just a way of telling you that you've actually captured the flag stick and not some trees in the background, and then Jolt just reinforces that by vibrating the unit, letting you know that the flag stick was actually captured. Now the Pro X2 states that it will capture distances as little as 5 yards away and up to 1,300 yards away, which seems like overkill, but okay. And it also says that it will capture a flag stick up to 450 yards away, so that's far. Another new feature with the Pro X2 is dual display. Basically, when you look through a rangefinder and you shoot your target, you get like that alarm clock text in there that reads out the number, and it's usually in black. They came out with a couple years ago the vivid display, so when you would shoot your target, it would glow red. You just push this button right here and it just switches it just like that inside the unit. The Pro X2 also offers 6 times magnification. It also has 2nd generation ESP, which just is a fancy way of saying that the unit is super accurate and super fast. It utilizes fast focus system, so if you point at a target that's close to you and then one that's far away from you, there is virtually no focus time. Okay, so that wraps up the features and benefits on the Pro X2. Now let's talk about the Bushnell Hybrid. Now strap in, folks, because according to Bushnell, this is the first ever integrated GPS laser rangefinder unit. The Hybrid has a dual battery source. As I stated before, you have that USB cable that charges the GPS battery, and then you have that CR2 battery that powers the laser rangefinder. There's ×5 magnification. It will detect a flag stick up to 400 yards away. You have your pin seeker with Jolt technology. Now onto the GPS. The exterior GPS display will give you front, middle, back, up to 4 hazards per hole. And finally, they have given us a GPS with Bluetooth for auto course updates. So you have your phone, which has the app on it. You can then sync the two together and you can get updates directly to this without having to plug it into your computer, go and log into a website. Just boring stuff. Last, it has auto course recognition. So when you drive up to the golf course, you power this unit on, it will give you a list of golf courses that are close to that vicinity, and you simply select that course from the menu. Also, when you're out playing on that golf course and you go to the next hole, it will auto advance to that hole so you don't have to select it on the GPS. It does it for you. That wraps up the features and benefits portion of this segment. Now, the next thing we do is we take these units out onto the golf course, and we not only detect the accuracy of them, but we go over some of the key features and benefits that we just discussed. So let's go to the course. So I'm here at Riverbend Golf Course. I'm standing on the 2nd hole. The reason I chose this hole is because it's the longest, flattest hole that I could think of in Fort Wayne. And you can see right behind me here is the 100-yard marker. Now, I'm not just gonna stand next to that yardage marker, shoot the flag stick, and be like, okay, these rangefinders are this far off, because obviously when they measured that marker, they measured it to the center of the green. The flag's not in the center of the green today. And also, I don't know how far that flag stick was from that initial marker, so I have to remeasure that distance. And I can't just use my old rangefinder because I don't know how accurate that was. So I have to actually physically measure this distance. I don't want to use a tape measure, so what I brought with me today is a measuring wheel. Now, for those of you who don't know what a measuring wheel is, it's exactly that. You just roll it along the ground, and as you do so, the numbers on the side of it here read out how far you've traveled in feet and inches. We can take that measurement, we can convert it into yards, and I can have an exact yardage of how far I am away from that hole. All right, so I'm gonna start at the flag stick here with my measuring wheel. I'm gonna drop a tee at 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250 yards. The flag is directly in the middle of this mow path here on the left side of the fairway, so I'm gonna pretend like that's my center line to make sure I have a nice straight measurement here. So let's go. Okay, so that's the last marker. It's 750 feet. That's 250 yards. Now, we gotta do it again. All right, so I'm all done measuring. I actually measured 4 times, down, back, and each time that I measured to each individual marker, I was within 12 inches each time going down and back. So we got good numbers. I'm just waiting for a group here to finish up the hole before we can take the rangefinders out and actually test the accuracy. Okay, so the measuring is all done. I'm standing here at the 50-yard marker from that flag stick right there, according to my measuring wheel. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use my Pro 1600 Tournament Edition from Bushnell. I've had this rangefinder for like 9 years. I've always trusted it, but I've never tested its accuracy. So I'm gonna test the Pro 1600, which is 9-year-old technology, up against the brand new Bushnell Pro X2 and hybrid rangefinder. So let's do it. All right, I'm gonna start out with my Pro 1600. Now it does have pin seeker mode on it, but it doesn't have that jolt technology, so I don't get a vibration when it hits the flag stick, but it will let me know with an icon that the flag stick was found. All right, flag stick found at 50 yards, so that's spot on. Next we have the Pro X2. That's 50 yards on the nose as well, so we're accurate there. All right, last I have the Bushnell Hybrid, which features a GPS readout right there on the front of the unit. Right now it's reading at 50 yards to the center of the green, but we're gonna go ahead and shoot that with the laser and see what we come up with. Okay, 50 yards right on the nose, so we're good to go. Let's move back to the next station. 100-yard marker, Pro 1600. We're at 101. Pro X2, 100 exactly. Last is the Bushnell Hybrid. Now I've been on this hole for a little while now. It just sent me a message about pace of play. I like that, but the GPS reads 100 yards even. It shoots 99 yards, so we've erred on the other side now. Let's keep going. Pro 1600, 150 yards. 150 even. Pro X2, 150 on the nose. Bushnell Hybrid, we're at 150 yards with the GPS. 149 yards with the laser. Move it back. 200 yards, Pro 1600. Locked in at 201. Pro X2, 200 yards on the nose again. Bushnell Hybrid is at 200 yards exactly on the GPS. 201 with the laser. 250 yards, Pro 1600. I had trouble getting it to lock on the flag. I'm gonna try it again. 252 yards locked on the flag stick. Pro X2, 252 as well. Bushnell Hybrid is at 251 yards with the GPS. 250 yards exactly. They do state that they will capture targets at 400 yards. The X2 is actually 450 yards. I don't think I have quite that much, but I'm gonna go back as far as I can and see if I can get these to read out close to that 400-yard mark. Okay, so we sidestepped away from the original line and we used the Bushnell Hybrid to give me a GPS readout. This is 400 yards away, and according to Bushnell, it can pick up a flag stick at 400 yards. So let's test it out. 1600 right here. We're at 403 with the 1600. Pro X2. We're at 401. Bushnell Hybrid, 402. And I actually got jolt response from the X2 and the Hybrid. They're letting me know I actually captured the flag stick. But let's face it, if you're measuring yardages to a flag stick from 400 yards away, you're a real ace-hole. Whoop, whoop. Now the Pro X2 has a cool feature called Slope Switch, and it's just this little toggle right here on the side that looks like the Pro X2 logo. You simply slide that up until it reads Slope Edition, and there you've converted it from a standard rangefinder into one that reads Slope. First we're going to do is we're going to take this Pro X2 and we're going to measure to this flag stick here, which is about 20 feet above where I'm standing now. We're at 145 yards, so now we're just going to take it and slide it up to Slope Edition. Once again, we're still at 145 yards, but if you slide down, there's a number displayed on the bottom, which factors in the slope. It's at 152 yards. So that elevation change is accounted for 7 more yards. If you're in between clubs or you're not quite sure, maybe that flag is right on the edge of the front or right on the edge of the back, and you want to know exactly how far it is, the slope will help you do that. Just don't use it in a tournament. So obviously the hybrid has a GPS built into it, but another cool feature is that when you're actually shooting the flag stick, it gives you that yardage, but beside it, it gives you the readout to the front of the green and a readout to the back of the green, which can be crucial on a green like this that's very skinny and long from front to back. So as I shoot the flag here, we are at 85 yards. So it's 85 yards, but I also see a number up there that reads 81 to the front and 107 to the back. So that gives you a little bit of idea how much green you have to work with in front and behind that flag stick. Okay, so on the Pro X2 model, they have what's called vivid display. And you've seen this on other Bushnell models in the past, but what's unique to the Pro X2 is you can actually toggle back and forth between standard display and vivid display. This isn't the best day to simulate that because I feel like the standard display does very well in bright conditions, which is a day like today, but the vivid does much better when it's dark outside. But I found a flag here that kind of has some shadowy trees behind it, and hopefully I can simulate what it is that I'm talking about. It's hard to make a camera look through this, but we'll try it out. I apologize for the shakiness, but as you can see, you shoot the flag and you display it on the bright green there. It reads 86 yards, and you can see that very clearly in the standard display. But when you get up into the shadows, it disappears, and it's kind of hard to pick it out. If you just simply click and toggle against that vivid display there, you can see it pops against the background, but it's almost impossible to see in bright conditions. So if you have that yardage, you shoot it, you can kind of toggle back and forth between which display you like depending on the lighting conditions. Okay, quick hypothetical. I found, oh, that's poison ivy. So I found myself in deep tree trouble. You can see that the canopy is very thick. I have the hybrid GPS unit right here in my hand. I can see a little bit of the flag. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot that now. 221 to the flag stick. We're at 220 with the GPS, so even under this dense tree cover, we're still getting a good enough signal to get, oh, 221. Better yet, awesome. So even if you find yourself in the deep woods, you can still get a signal on the hybrid here, and it's accurate and reliable, so you don't have to worry about losing that GPS satellite signal, which is usually a big problem with these units. I know sometimes, oh my goodness, look at this. Look at the size of this snapping turtle. It looks like something out of the Paleolithic era. That's my shoe. That is the size of this turtle. I'm just gonna get my shoe back. You're close to home, buddy. Keep going, you're almost there. Now the last test we're going to conduct before we head back to the ugly couch is the inebriation test, because I know a lot of you out there like to play the game with a couple of beverages in you and your hand starts to shake a little bit, maybe you start to wobble, but I've shot the flag stick at 152 yards with both units. Now what we're going to do now is to see if we can get that same yardage while I simulate a little bit of inebriation. Let's try it out. Pro X2 first. 152 yards. I was nowhere near that flag stick either. I like it because that jolt technology, even if you are a little bit intoxicated, you can feel that vibration and let you know you got the flag stick. Okay, we're going to try out the hybrid. 152 yards again. Once again, I was like hovering around that flag stick, was nowhere near it, and it still was able to differentiate that between the trees in the background. So very impressed. Both units passed the inebriation test. Let's break down my final thoughts back on the ugly couch and wrap this thing up. Alright, we're back on the ugly couch, and now it's time to talk about my final thoughts and conclusions. My final conclusion on accuracy is that I have a 9-year-old piece of technology that captures distances just as well as this new technology does. Now, I realize that there are new features and benefits in those models, but when we come to just measuring that distance from you to the flag stick, my Pro 1600 did the job. I don't think this is a bad thing for Bushnell. It just says that they've been making very accurate measuring equipment for a very long time. Next, I want to talk about slope switch, which is kind of a quirky feature when it comes to this unit because it's technically not even legal to use for tournament play, but it's a way of measuring the elevation change in the golf course, but I have no real easy way to test this. But the fact that this unit calculates that distance just from the angle at which it's returned to the unit, it seems kind of, I don't know. I liked how easily you could switch back and forth from the slope to the standard rangefinder, but then again, that would just welcome cheaters. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, no one's going to cheat at this game. let me remind you that my Vaseline on a driver face video almost has 1 million views. People are cheating. Now the hybrid has the built-in GPS, and I absolutely loved this feature. When I went out to the course, turned it on, it knew exactly where I was. When I selected that course, it put me right on the first hole. There was no messing around, no settings, no options, no downloading. It was right out of the box, ready to go, and I love that. And I like the integrated GPS. You don't have to look at the GPS and then shoot your target, then back at the GPS again. All you have to do is lock onto the flag stick. It will give you that readout, and it also gives you front of the green and back of the green. I'm sorry I couldn't show this in the video. It's just super hard to line this up, click a button, point at the flag, make sure it's up against the lens correctly. I tried it, it didn't work out well. Now, last thing I want to talk about before I give you my final conclusion is the inebriation test. Now, this wasn't only to show you how someone who's intoxicated would use one of these rangefinders, but a lot of complaints I get with rangefinders themselves is that people can't keep them steady enough to actually hit the flag stick. I never put the crosshairs on the pin itself. I hovered all around it. I never stopped moving, and when I clicked the button, it was still able to pick that flag stick out amongst a whole row of trees behind it, which I thought was pretty impressive. Okay, so that wraps up my final thoughts. I think that was everything. Actually, no. I'll be right back. Don't say waterproof unless you mean it. Oh, that felt bad. Okay, test it out. We're good, 8 yards. Finally, my conclusion on the Pro X2 and Bushnell hybrid rangefinders. Overall, I think both of these units do a great job. Now, as I've stated, I used my Pro 1600 for 9 years. I think Bushnell makes a reliable, accurate rangefinder. I just wish that I could take some features from this and just mold them together. For starters, I love the way the Pro X2 feels. It's heavy, it feels durable, it feels like it's built like a tank. I also like the dual display where you can toggle back and forth between the standard display and the vivid display depending on the lighting conditions that you're playing in. Also, I like the accuracy and the speed of this unit. It seemed to capture the flag not only more consistently, but a little quicker as well. I love the integrated GPS feature on this unit where you can shoot the flag with the laser, but you also get front and back. You get some hazards. It's easy to navigate. It's already preloaded. If you could take those features and mold that into one rangefinder, you would have the ultimate rangefinder. So that wraps up this episode of Hard Boiled. If you have any questions or comments about either one of these rangefinders, please put them down in the comments section below. Have you used one of these? Are you interested in purchasing one of these? I would love to know. But thanks for always watching. Please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.